Ich kann machen, was ich will. Keiner kann mir an den Kahn pissen. Das ist die Wahrheit. Ja. Das heißt auch nicht, dass ich irgendwie, dass ich größenwahnsinnig geworden bin, sondern wir wissen, was wir tun. Wir arbeiten mit Menschen zusammen. Deswegen kann ich es machen. Andere können es nicht machen. Wenn es andere machen, sich hier reinsetzen und erzählen, ich habe sie am nächsten Morgen ein großes Problem. Ich nicht.
Und warum?
Na, kein Kommentar.
If you pay protection money, you can be sure that you don't have to fear for anything. On January 16, 2023, I am writing to the Bavarian Prime Minister Söder, asking him to resign from his office for the second time. Dear Mr. Söder, due to your involvement in the Wirecard-Scandal, I write to you in my letter dated September 19, 2021, asking you to resign from your position as Prime Minister of Bavaria. Since you leave the public image of a self-centered person, I didn't really expect that you would commit your responsibility. Judging from your behavioral pattern, you must have enjoyed it when the other German prime ministers asked you for permission to grant their judiciary access to Wirecard in order to launder their extorted protection money there. This scenario only sounds constructed if one were not to consider that the former money laundering officer at Wirecard, my colleague at the time, Mr. K., would not have confirmed to me that the former police chief Waldemar Kindler, who was sent to Wirecard as a money laundering advisor, has no idea about money laundering. As a police chief, you cannot have a clue about KYC, black and white lists, or pattern recognition, as this requires a qualification in the use of quantitative methods. Obviously, Mr. Kindler had the task of keeping the Wirecard money laundering machine running, or to maintain the appearance of legitimacy and legality through his presence. After all, the golden calf, Wirecard, was unbeatably cheap, and probably thanks to your actions, not placed under supervision by the BaFin. In this way, it was also possible for you and your accomplices to have the extorted protection money paid out in the form of constant cash flows via supposed gambling winnings. What you were not aware of is that money laundering at Wirecard still had to be concealed, and this led to an expense that was ultimately not covered by the insufficient income from the money laundering business. The subsequent accounting falsification was a necessary evil to keep the company and its profiteers alive. You and your accomplices milked the golden calf until it dropped dead. In the meantime, you and your accomplices have surely noticed that money laundering via cryptocurrencies is not only significantly more expensive than it was with Wirecard, but is also associated with price losses. Considering my work of disclosing, it should not be easy for you to look back wistfully. Unlike last time by his Minister of the Interior, Mr. Söder does not answer. In my petition, I emphasize my demand to the European heads of state and government not to set up a European authority to combat money laundering in Germany. I point to the indications that have become known to me in the course of my work at Wirecard and the attempts to clarify the Wirecard-Scandal. In order to substantiate my own experiences with the corrupt German judiciary and the attempted extortion of protection money by them, I am sending an email to the Hungarian government on June 6, 2022. With reference to my knowledge of corruption in the German judiciary and the fact that everything points to money laundering at Wirecard, the Hungarian government is asked to check the archives of its domestic secret service in the period from May 8, 2000 to May 22, 2000. The trafficking of Romanian girls to forced prostitution in Germany, organized by the undercover investigators of the State Criminal Police Office in Hesse, was planned to take place via Hungary. In the archives of Hungary's Domestic Intelligence Agency, one would find pictures of me meeting with the undercover agent and his accomplice. These photos were taken by the Hungarian Secret Service when its employees tried to disguise themselves as a group of tourists. On June 7, 2022, Federal Foreign Minister Baerbock canceled her trip to Pakistan and Greece due to a positive corona test. She probably took the opportunity to take care of diplomatic matters in Germany. Although I violated the Narcotics Act at the time, I was never a criminal. Therefore, the judiciary could not expect payment of protection money. Such a behavior is a problem for the German judiciary. In the case of criminal biker gangs, The situation for the German judiciary is not particularly pleasant either. The biker gangs appear very self-confident towards the judiciary. They probably wanted to demand something in return from Boris Rhein, who was classified as useful in the wiretapping protocols. Dealing with criminal clans is much more profitable and easier for corrupt politicians and their judiciary. The cultural differences and the persistence in a parallel world reduced the resistance to bowing to the demands of the judiciary for protection money. There are moral, social, and cultural barriers to defying a corrupt judiciary. Any form of refusal gets interpreted with reference to the criminal file as evidence of a notoriously criminal character. As a result of this, and due to the socio-economic circumstances of an impermeable society in Germany, the clans are trapped in their milieus. These circumstances of social division, which is described as a parallel society, is intentional. In this way, the milieus can be more easily exploited. To do this, the scheme described in Season 1, Episode 2 is applied until the required payments are made. Of course, this only applies to those people who are found to be fit for business. The judiciary responds to violent crimes with numerous lenient sentences to see whether a subject develops in a direction in which he uses his accumulated experience profitably. That happens to all violent criminals sooner or later. If a violent criminal remains a violent criminal, he will one day be sorted out with a long prison sentence. If he becomes a businessman and changes the industry into drugs, prostitution, human trafficking, arms trafficking, and so on, he will one day have to take the oath and make the required payments. Then he continue on with whatever criminal business. Politics and the judiciary have no scruples. They participate in any business that generates a profit.
Martin Hickel ist Bezirksbürgermeister von Neukölln, zuständig auch für die Parallelgesellschaft.
Das Thema Clankriminalität ist ja eins, was uns hier im Bezirk schon seit vielen, vielen Jahren begleitet. Und es sind meistens immer die gleichen Namen, die auffällig sind.
With great success, increasing self-confidence, and a higher standard of living in the criminal milieu, politicians and their judiciary are immediately called into action. Then the suspicion arises that the proceeds have not been skimmed off with enough vigor. In my letter dated July 12, 2023 to the Federal Ministry of Justice, I request Mr. Bushman to resign from his office with the following reason. As part of my criminal complaint dated January 28, 2021 against the Management Board of Wirecard for aiding and abetting money laundering, and against unknown persons for money laundering, the Munich 1 Public Prosecutor's Office began investigations under file number 400 and 2 AR 1947/21. On March 2, 2021, see attachment, I informed the Munich 1 Public Prosecutor's Office on the extortion of protection money that is common in the German judiciary, and on my experiences in this regard with the Fulda District Court, under file number 2Gs 6412/02 Ls. In my letter dated March 15, 2021, see attachment, I am explaining to the Munich 1 public prosecutor how the corporate structures at Wirecard made them ideal for money laundering, especially by the corrupt parts of the German judiciary. Under the headline Fighting Clan Crime Unconventionally, the state news portal Tagesschau.de quotes your statement on June 25, 2023, for example, by confiscating the status symbols of clan members after crimes, such as their luxury cars, expensive jewelry, and watches. It is usually the case that before resorting to unconventional measures, first conventional measures get applied. In this case, that would be a proper investigation and conviction of the clans by the judiciary. As stated in my letter of March 15, 2021 to the Munich 1 public prosecutor, this is not about the prosecution of organized crime, but rather about financial participation in the crime of the clans in the form of extortion. By that, no serious measures for criminal prosecution can be expected. Rather, these only serve, as in my case, the purpose of blackmailing the accused into payments or higher payments under threat of penalties or by soft sentences. The fact that you are now quite openly and specifically targeting the assets of the clans shows that you are aware of the corruption in the German judiciary. Second, it reveals that you support this behavior. You are aware of what is happening here. The corrupt German judiciary is selling the rule of law for its own profit. Mr. Buschmann didn't answer this letter.
Sogar in der Bundesregierung wird über das Thema diskutiert. Hanebutt weiß, dass er raus muss aus den Schlagzeilen, sonst ist sein Imperium in Gefahr. Heimlich, still und leise verhandelt er einen Frieden mit den Bandidos.
Wir haben zu dieser Zeit eine Phase, wo Auseinandersetzungen da sind, wo es einfach Todesopfer in der Öffentlichkeit gibt. Das wird von der Öffentlichkeit wahrgenommen, es gibt die Berichterstattung darüber. Und ich glaube, Frank Hanebutt hat die notwendige Weitsicht zu dem Zeitpunkt in jedem Fall gehabt, zu sagen, wir müssen da irgendwo Ruhe reinkriegen, um letztendlich auch die Verdienstmöglichkeiten wieder zu verbessern. Und das führt letztendlich zum Friedensschluss. Das ist nicht die wahre Freundschaft, sondern das sind rein geschäftliche Interessen.
The biker gangs withdrew more and more from illegality many years ago and only rarely allow themselves missteps. The ordinary policeman who does his job in good faith does not know these corrupt structures. All he knows is that he is not allowed to ask any questions about the work of the Criminal Investigations Department. Criminal investigations officers also live in a parallel world within the police headquarters. The ordinary policeman finds to his surprise that he arrests the same people over and over again. If doubts arise about his work, he is reminded on his official duties and certainly does not forget the advantages of his job. Those affected are very familiar with the perfidious scheme of German politicians and their judiciary. However, due to their criminal record, they do not have the necessary credibility. And on the other hand, they do not know all the backgrounds. Consequently, no one will listen to them.
Und diese Staatsanwaltschaft, ich kenne ihn, ich kenne seine Gruppe, was er gemacht, das macht nie ein Mensch auf der Welt. Er sagt lieber mich, Oberhaupt der Clan.
Es stimmt schon, ein gewisses Showtalent kann man dem Oberhaupt-Clan nicht absprechen.
The new clientele of the judiciary are criminal refugees. These have the additional advantage over criminal clans that there is no cohesion within an extended family. This brings with it greater social isolation and thus less self-confidence to refuse. Another advantage of the refugees is the lower level of the desired standard of living. This allows even higher payments to be skimmed off.
They're just like puppets, because if you take one out, someone else fills in the gap.
Politicians are well aware of this. Therefore, it is easy to reorganize the black market. Even in this case, major upheavals will not go unnoticed. Loud announcements ensure social acceptance. This is how you can make political profit from it. From these announcements, one can conclude that the underworld is about to change. Today's stabbers and rapists will become tomorrow's even more lucrative business criminals. Mixed migration crime is to replace crime committed by family clans in the future. However, the clans will not be offered the future prospects that the biker gangs have. Instead, their assets will be siphoned off, and they will be put out of business. Politicians and the judiciary justify the fact that they sell the rule of law for their own benefit by concluding that they are not paid appropriately for their work. They compare their income with that of successful managers in private companies. That this is an illusion was not only proven by the former Hessian Minister of Finance, Schäfer, but also by the former Prime Minister of Hesse, Roland Koch, Volker Bouffiers' predecessor, when he took over the management of Bilfingerberger.